recording.
Got it. All right. So now I just want to see if you can see the PowerPoint.
Mm-hmm. See it just fine.
Hey, Josh.
I can see it great. Don't worry.
Good. Good. So I'm asking Kayla and Josh, you can just weigh in and say, oh no. So Josh, this is really interesting. The Zoom reads my screen differently than Zoom usually does for me at Ithaca College. So that's fine. That was really interesting. So good. And then we'll go ahead and start, I think, right at 5. And Kayla, did you want to do an intro or anything, or you want me just to start up?
You're welcome to start up and introduce yourself. And I think there might be some other namely folks that pop in just a few minutes. And maybe at the end, they'll flag kind of Media Literacy Week if that works for you.
Sure, whatever.
Or you can talk about it.
Whatever we want. So hello, everybody. Really good to see people, mostly just black boxes with names. As far as I can tell, you can unmute your video if you'd like, up to you. And we're gonna have you type in the chat as we go along, and you can leave your video muted or you can unmute your video. I always love to see people, so it feels like I'm not just talking to a wall of bricks that have people's names. So really, really good to see everybody today. So we're gonna, I think we'll just wait for maybe 1 more minute and see if people are coming in. How's that sound? Kayla's going to keep me on track. So that's great. It's great to see you. I'm here from upstate New York in Ithaca, where we are in the middle of fall with lots of colored leaves and gorgeous weekend this weekend. So we are always waiting for the other shoe to drop. So anyway, I think this looks good. I think I'm just playing around with what I can do with my looking at who's here. So I think we'll go ahead and get started. And I'm going to ask people, I'm going to throw out questions at various times. So I'm going to ask you to be ready to type into the chat. I'll start that in a little bit. And I'll appreciate if everybody actually participates. That'll be great. And we're a pretty small group, so if you would like to raise your virtual hand, I think you can do that. I'm not sure actually on mine whether you can, but I'm assuming you can. Hey, Danelle, and we'll go from there. But we'll start with just typing into the chat, and I'll hope that I can actually see that as well. So welcome. So I'm Cindy Scheib. I'm the executive director of Project Look Sharp at Ithaca College. I'm going to be teaching about mis and disinformation in early elementary grades, really early childhood. And I will give a bunch of examples and look forward to having a good, robust chat. And Zoom is working a little differently than I usually am used to. So I'm just going to play around and learn as we go. So for those of you not familiar with Project Look Sharp, we've been around about 25 years. We're a nonprofit organization at Ithaca College. We have free media literacy lessons right now, more than 560 free lessons available for educators on our website. All you need to do is set up a free account. I'm going to talk more about Look Sharp at the very end, and I'll kind of walk through some of our new resources that we have for professional development and for educators. So we work with teachers and librarians all over the world. I just got back from a media literacy conference in Tbilisi, Georgia, the country of Georgia, and really excited to see the work that they're doing there. So today, I'm going to be talking about constructivist media decoding, which is the topic of new book that I have out with Chris Sperry. Many of you know Chris. He's a real leader in this community. And Chris and I have this new book out through ASCD, Teaching Students to Decode the World, that uses some of the same examples that I'm going to use today. But I'm going to focus on early childhood and early elementary grades, and really using what we call CMD, constructivist media decoding, to get at what's true and what isn't, and the credibility of information when you're talking with young children. So I always make sure we're on the same page before we go along. So this is you're going to be your first type in the chat opportunity. So we want to make sure everybody is on the same page by what we mean by media. So from the moment you woke up this morning until right now, what are the kinds of media that you've used or been exposed to? And you can just type in the chat if you would. Podcasts, great. Twitter still. Twitter not used in Georgia, interestingly. TikTok, ads on the subway. I love that. And also podcasts, so me as well. So Aaron says television. That's an old form, but it comes in lots of different ways. Danelle is saying Zoom, absolutely. Email, Apple Music. That's something that people often don't say is music. And I'll just say, when we are talking with librarians, great, newspapers. And newspapers can be on paper. That's the way I still get my newspaper every day. But it also, of course, can be online journalism, as you say. So when we talk to librarians, one of the things we say is, what else? What other kinds of media might you have around you? And for kids, what media might we have in our classroom today? So what have we left out that librarians are likely to say? You can just type in the chat, and that kids will see in their classrooms. Stacy, really good. Books. Yeah, books are media, and every single thing that we talk about related to media literacy applies to books as well. So we use, see if I can get my thing to work. This is a partial list of different kinds of media that we would consider. And I've given examples specifically for children, which include lots of toys, you know, Baby Shark, Shark. If you have little kids in your life, you're familiar with that. But food packages, clothing, the picture in the upper left is my granddaughter, Jasara, and her dad, both of them wearing media on their t-shirts. And you can see media in hats and other kinds of clothing, in magazines for kids, certainly in music, and lots of toys. So all of these different things are part of what we consider media. So when we talk about media literacy at Project Look Sharp, this is what we call the graphic that we use to talk about what we mean by media literacy. And namely, and many other organizations focus on 5 aspects of media literacy: the ability to access, analyze, evaluate, create, and act related to media. For us at Look Sharp, we include those 5. We also acknowledge there's some knowledge and awareness that is part of being media literate. But for us, at the very center of all of this is the ongoing process of inquiry and reflection, asking questions, both the educator asking questions or parent asking questions of children, but also teaching children to ask questions themselves, and then reflecting, thinking about, what are my own biases? What do I bring to this viewing situation, or this reading situation, or listening situation? So how does my own interpretation of a media message influence the kinds of interpretations that I have. So for us, that's what media literacy is about. So today we're going to do this constructivist media decoding process. I'm going to use all examples that I would use with kindergartners or first graders. I'm not going to ask you to pretend that you're 6-year-olds, although you could. But I am going to ask questions as though I would ask those of 6-year-olds. So let's start with this. And again, you can type in the chat. What do these 5 pieces of media have in common? What do you think? And having it something in common just means, how are these things all the same, or how are they similar? So red color, exactly. So we see a lot of red in all of these. Do we see any other colors as well besides red? I think they all have red. Yeah, green. They all have some green as well. And cartoon characters, really great. Almost all of them. The Cherry 7-Up doesn't, but almost all. And Travis says they're all fruit-based. So yeah, what makes you say that they are all fruit-based? Where do you see fruit in all of these? Or what kinds of fruit do you see? There's a lot of different fruit, isn't there? And you're right that Shaylin, you're saying all sweet things. I'm going to come back to that. So consumable, good 6-year-old word, but they all show pictures of fruit. Yeah, pictures of fruit. Many of them actually say the word fruit. So there's fruity pebbles and fruity shapes and fruit by the foot, and fruit juicy red is what Hawaiian Punch it says. And some of them give examples of specific kinds of fruit. And we've talked about fruit in our class. So Cherry 7-Up has a picture of cherries and also the word cherry. And Fruit by the Foot says rippin' berry berry. So it says berry even twice. And lots of other words and images that imply fruit. So what do you think? Do you think these foods actually have fruit in them? What do you think? And if we were in class, I'd say, how many people? Raise your hand. Travis is saying no. What makes you think, Travis, that there's no fruit in these? Or maybe very little fruit? They look like they have a lot of fruit. They say they have a lot of fruit. And we see pictures and we see words. So what makes you think maybe they might not have a lot of fruit? And Kristen is saying, probably maybe some fruit, maybe not fruity pebbles, because they really don't show pictures of fruit, but Cherry 7-Up shows a picture of fruit. And Jelena is saying, because it's a plastic container for the Hawaiian Punch. And the juice is in a can. So that might be a clue that whatever you're drinking, if it's in a can, maybe that's a clue that it isn't all fruit or all fruit juice. And maybe if it's in plastic. Great, thank you, Elena. Elena, thank you for telling me that. So there's a lot of things that might be clues. And what we want to do is figure out, how could we tell? How could we actually find out if there is any fruit in this? So I'm going to go to another example. We'll use this other example to start exploring that. So this is another example. This says Capri Sun, all natural juice drink, strawberry kiwi. So what kinds of fruit do you think are in this drink? This is a little pouch, so it's not a can. And it's not plastic, it's a little juice pouch. And you can put your straw in it. So what do you think? What kind of fruit might you think is in this? So Tessa says strawberry and kiwi. Good guess. And Elena says powder. Might be. Now is powder a fruit? A kind of fruit? Might be flavored powder. But let's come back to strawberry kiwi. You would think strawberry and kiwi because You can see strawberry kiwi, the words. It says strawberry kiwi flavored juice blend. And you see pictures of strawberries and kiwi. But Natalia is saying apple. Natalia, what makes you think there might be apple juice in this? I don't see any apple juice. And Travis says pear. And Stacy is saying strawberry kiwi flavored juice blend. And you put flavored in all caps. That means that's the key word. Sometimes we call that a weasel word or a loophole word that lets them off the hook from really this being juice. It's a flavored juice blend. But in fact, for Natalia and Travis, when they said, and Natalia, you're saying, I think a lot of things pretending to be juice, or even that are juice, they have apple. But in our class of 6-year-olds, we want to know, how could we find that out? So one of the things, class, to know is that on all foods, on everything to eat, at least in the United States, it has to have a list of what's in it. And for anything that's a drink, there will be a list on at least the box that the pouches came in, if not on the pouch itself. So if we look real carefully down at the bottom of this pouch, it says no artificial ingredients. We could have a whole conversation about that and what that means and who the target audience is for that. Probably not 6-year-olds. But right below that, it says, here are the ingredients. So I'm going to read those and see if you hear any strawberry and kiwi. It says ingredients: water, that's the first one. High fructose corn syrup. Anybody know what that means? High fructose corn syrup. What does that mean? You'd raise your hand in a kindergarten class. Aaron, that's exactly right. That's another word for sugar. So the first ingredient is water, and the second ingredient is sugar. And exactly, processed sugar, exactly. And the third ingredient is pear juice or pear. And the fourth ingredient is apple. And the fifth ingredient is strawberry juice concentrates. And what that means is a little tiny bit of strawberry juice. And then it has citric acid and natural flavor. So did anybody hear kiwi in that list? Nah, there's no kiwi in this juice drink, even though they pretend that there is. And when we look at those other foods, Fruity Pebbles, we can read what's on the side of the package. Guess what? No fruit in Fruity Pebbles, no fruit in Trix, no fruit or juice in Cherry 7-Up at all. There's a little bit of fruit in Fruit by the Foot, and a little bit of fruit juice in Hawaiian Punch, but not much. And Kristen, you're saying, what a ripoff. So is this misinformation? Misinformation is when somebody says something that's not true. So what do you think? Are they telling us things that are not really true? Yeah, they are really. And sometimes advertisers will do that because they really want you to buy this product. So they may tell you things or imply things that are not really true. Now, is this disinformation? Disinformation is when they are telling you something that's not true on purpose. They're really lying to you on purpose. And you could argue, yeah, this is kind of disinformation. But everything that they're doing in these products is legal. That means it's allowed by our government for them to show you these pictures and to pretend there's fruit in this, even when there's not. But for us as 6-year-olds, as first graders, we don't have to be tricked by this. We can use clues and be detectives and figure it out. And one thing we can do is know that it will tell us somewhere on the package what's really in it. So even if you can't read, you can ask somebody, you can ask a grown-up, a teacher, or a family member to read you the ingredients. And when you're out in the grocery store, maybe with your family buying stuff, you can ask to have somebody read what the ingredients are. So you can be kind of what we call skeptical. You can think about what you're seeing and ask questions. And then you can decide if you want to eat some fruit for breakfast. Fruity Pebbles and Tricks, not gonna do it. You'd probably just want a banana or maybe a bowl of strawberries and kiwi fruit. And then it would really be fruit. So I'm gonna step out now from teaching as I would to 6-year-olds to say that's the process of constructivist media decoding. It's teaching information by asking questions and probing for evidence, and sometimes adding information if you need to do that. So I'm going to give you some other examples that can be used with early elementary grades. And they all come from lessons that we have on the Project Look Sharp website. And including, we have a number of lessons about cereals, about fruit snacks, about fruit juices, and I put that in quotes, and fruit drinks. So one of the lessons, and I am going to show you a little video that's part of this lesson, was developed by a first grade teacher, Joyce Pixley, and the librarian at her school, Nicole Laura. And they were doing some training with us on media literacy. And we were talking about how you can teach kids to ask questions about what they're learning in school. And to do that, to teach exactly the kinds of things that you are already needing to teach. And Joyce, first grade teacher, said to her librarian, I don't know what they're talking about. My first graders can't do this. They're talking about stuff that maybe upper elementary, maybe middle school and high school, but I'm not sure my first graders are capable of doing this. So her librarian, Nikki, said, well, what are you teaching right now? And Joyce said, well, we're in the middle of a science unit on liquids and solids and gas. We're looking at matter. And Nikki said, and who are the kids that you really struggle with a lot in terms of getting them to be engaged in the lessons? And she said, you know, I have a bunch of boys in my class that all they want to do is play superheroes. And no matter what I do, that's what they want. They want to do stuff related to superheroes. So Nikki said, okay, let me see what I can do. And she came back with a wonderful video clip of Spider-Man versus Hydro Man, and said, let's see if we can come up with a lesson using this clip with Hydro Man and Spider-Man and have it address exactly what you want to address, issues related to liquids and solids and gas. And because Hydro Man is made of water, that will be a perfect superhero to use. So I'm going to stop my share for a minute and go back. So great to see everybody here. And this time I'm going to share, I'm hoping this will work, a video. Okay, Kayla, is this working?
Yep, I can see it just fine.
Good. So I'm just going to show you a little bit of this clip from this lesson. And I want you to think about, where do you see messages about liquids and solids and gas in this little short clip?
To run.
So why don't we all just take a break?
You again. Haven't you figured out yet that you can't beat me?
I don't have to, Slick. She already has.
Huh?
Don't you get it, Bench? She's led you away from the water that feeds you. You're barely holding yourself together, pal. You're almost out of you.
Why, Mary Jane? Why? I'm loved you.
You don't kidnap people you love, Maury. And you don't force yourself on people you love. Maury, it's over. We've got to get you some help.
I'll destroy you with my bare
Maury,
hands!
no!
Bench, don't!
He's evaporating. Does this mean he's...
Not necessarily. H2O is infamous among solvents for its self-cohesiveness.
Brother.
I love that line in a kid's cartoon. So anybody see anything related to liquids and solids and gas in that little clip that we just saw? And I'm going to go back to sharing my screen again too. This, and you can just type in the chat if there's anything that you saw. Let's see what we've got. Water can take a shape. Yeah, so one of the things that Joyce, when she showed this little clip to the kids after they had learned about liquids and solids and glass, when she showed this to kids and she said, is there anything you saw that couldn't really happen or couldn't be true? And kids said exactly that. Well, wait a minute. We learned that water takes the shape of the container that it's in. So how could this guy, Hydro Man, just be walking around if he's made of water? And that couldn't really happen. You couldn't have somebody just walk. But Travis, but you're saying evaporation. And he fell and then evaporated. That's one of the things we learned. He was a liquid, but water and other liquids can evaporate and become a gas. And that could really happen. So they showed some things that weren't true and couldn't be true, and some things that were true, but not without a temperature change. Oh, so great. But you saw the sun beating down on the water. That would be a great conversation to have. So then Joyce said to the kids, so why would the makers of this cartoon, why would they show you something that's not true? And her first graders said, well, they didn't make it to be true. They made it to be fun. And she said, well, so what does that mean? What should we do when we're watching things in movies or TV? And the kids said, well, you have to think about, why did they make this? Did they make this to teach me something, or did they just make it to be fun? And Joyce was blown away by that not only did it reinforce what she had been teaching the kids about liquids and taking the shape of containers and being able to evaporate, but also the kids understood what we want them to get in media literacy, to ask questions about why did somebody make something? What was their purpose? And that gets at the heart of understanding credibility of information. Why did somebody make something? Why did somebody make this book? Did they make it to teach me something, or did they make it just to be fun? And how can I find that out? For us, that is always at the heart of what we want to get at in media literacy. So hang on, we're gonna just go to the next slide. So I want to say that, oh, this is great. I love your comment, Kristen, to connect this with the author's purpose. And you can do the same thing with children's books. In fact, the next lesson I'm going to show you, one of our brand new ones, is called Dinosaurs, What's True and What's Not. And it's a lesson where kids analyze messages about dinosaurs in a range of different media examples. And this lesson was developed by, if you see this little boy here on the left, that's my grandson, Jakarta. He's 4 years old. Dinosaurs are his life. And so when we were talking about doing new lessons, he said, what do you have on dinosaurs? And so we decided we'd do a lesson on this and included these 7 examples. So we have things from a children's book, in the dinosaur's paw, from a Disney movie, dinosaur, from National Geographic Kids video and website, and a bunch of different things, a video game, a PBS video on dinosaur eatings and dinosaur eggs. And for each of these clips, or each of these images, the teacher can show it to kids and ask questions about it. So let's do that a little bit. So here's an example. So what are the messages about dinosaurs in this website, on this website, National Geographic for Kids? And I can tell you that what it says is, with long front legs and shorter rear legs, Brachiosaurus was built to feed high in trees. So that's what I would ask kids. And what are the messages? What are the messages that you just heard? And what are the things that you see? If I was doing this with my class, oh, 2 dinosaurs are talking. I love that, Elena. So then we could talk about what makes you say they're talking. And this is what a Brachiosaurus looks like. And I could say, and what do Brachiosauruses eat? What do dinosaurs eat according to what you see here? And we get an idea of them eating grass, maybe, but are they eating grass on the ground? We see grass on the ground. That's right. So they are eating maybe leaves or something on trees, because that's what it also says when we read what it says right there. So we can look at a bunch of different examples, like this one. This is from a game, Metal Machines. So what are the messages here about dinosaurs? And it says, take on the double loop and beat the dino. And up at the top, it says, wild thing, that dinosaurs are bigger than monster trucks. Yeah, and they eat cars. And is that really true, that dinosaurs eat cars? I asked my grandson and he said, well, that one does. And yeah, were cars around when dinosaurs were around? We could talk about that. What do you think? When dinosaurs were alive, did we have cars then? And in fact, were there people on Earth then? So it leaves us wonderful conversations. And the same with this one, this Disney movie of dinosaurs. And when I showed this one to my grandson, we had already created this lesson. And this was the very first image I showed him. And I said, so what are the messages here about Brontosaurus? And he said, yeah, that's not a Brontosaurus. And I said, it's not, what is it? And he said, it's a Brachiosaurus. And we had written Brontosaurus in the lesson. So we had to go change the lesson because of our 4-year-old advisor, my grandson. So even at the age of 4 or 5 or 6, you'll have lots of dinosaur experts in your classroom who can share information, who can discuss everything that they know. And as Michelle says, having a 4-year-old as a consultant working with us, really great. So that lesson, again, is on our website, Dinosaurs, What's True and What's Not. And we have other lessons that we've just put up using other types of creatures that are often part of early elementary science lessons. So butterflies in the media. What do you learn about butterflies, and what is true and what is maybe not true about butterflies? And what about raptors? What does that mean anyway? And how can we learn things about raptors from different kinds of media? And what about dolphins? What's true? And can dolphins be pink? And do dolphins, in fact, risk getting plastic on their faces? So lots of wonderful ways to have a conversation about the credibility of information. When is there information? When might there be misinformation, things that are not necessarily true? When might there be disinformation? When are they telling you something that's not true on purpose? And why would they do that? So that's the idea from these lessons. So I want to just talk about a couple of other ways in which this can play out, and then I'm going to take us to the Project Look Sharp website, so we can I can show you how to find information on our website. For those of you who are teachers, you probably are already familiar with the KWL approach. I was not, as somebody who taught at the college level. So it's the idea of when you are approaching or beginning a new topic, to start out by asking, what do we already know about this topic? That's the K. What do we want to know about this topic? And after we've done the unit and learned this stuff, now reflecting back on what did we learn. So it's a wonderful approach, and I now use it at the college level. So notice how beautifully this dovetails with media literacy. So what do you already know, and how did you know that? What made you think that dinosaurs were around when people were around? Or what made you think this about this topic? What were your sources of information? And what do we want to know? And where should we find that out? Getting kids involved even in early elementary school. If we want to find out about dinosaurs, where should we go to get that information? And should we maybe ask an expert? Should we watch a video? Should we look in books? Should we go online? Where should we get the best information? And then after we've learned this, then reflecting back on what sources were the most useful and the most credible. What were the things that were the most true? So having that conversation with kids. One of the lessons we developed for third grade that illustrates this is we have an entire kit on the study of Africa. And it starts by asking the kids, what do you already know about Africa? So what do you think? Is this a picture from Africa? Yes or no? And the lesson has kids look at, about 20 images, all of them photographs, and has a little worksheet for kids to fill out. And this could be for second grade, third grade, or older kids. But asking kids, what do you think? Is this a picture from Africa? Yes or no? You just have to circle one. And why or why not? What are some words that you might say? And not surprisingly, the first thing kids will say for this is yes, although they might be a little confused by the snow on the mountain, but almost all kids will say yes. And while they might not spell it right, they will say because giraffes are from Africa. And how about this one? Is this a picture from Africa? Now, most third graders in our experience will say, no, this is not from Africa. And the number one reason they will give is Coke. That tells you that kids are coming to the study of Africa believing, no Coca-Cola in Africa. And they also might say comb, or they might say clothes. But most kids would say, no, not Africa. And how about this one? Yeah, most kids would say yes, and they might say drums, or they might say feathers, or they might say naked. And all of that for kids who are in middle elementary grades, at least, will imply yes, Africa. And this one, probably no. And they might write the word city. Although if they're really looking carefully, they might see the sort of thatched roof of the building at the bottom. So some kids might say yes, but most kids would say no. And most kids would say yes. And the answers that they would give, really important in terms of what they might say. Teachers have told us that kids will often say things like naked or dirty. when they give their reason for why this is Africa. And that opens up a little window into what kids are bringing to this lesson. So asking questions about what do you already know, or showing media examples and saying, what do you think? Is this from Africa, or is this from the United States, or is this from China, or wherever it is that you're learning about, to unpack a little bit on what you're doing. And as Kathleen wrote, analyzing media is so important, because when kids get older, certainly, they're going to be doing the Regents history test. We're in New York State. And for us, prepping kids to do this kind of document-based question analysis, being able to look at an image or read a passage and then answer questions about it. For us, that's what this is. This is scaffolding for being able to answer those questions. So most kids for this will say no, not so much because there's someone with white skin, but because of the factory. In fact, we have found that skin color is not an indicator to them of whether this is an image from Africa, yes or no. And that's in part because when this is followed up by saying, so, you know, the teachers will now say, guess what? All of those were pictures from Africa. And kids fall off their chairs. They can't believe it. What are you talking about? I'm 8 years old. I know Africa, and that is not Africa. But in fact, when they start talking about their sources of information, a lot of the information they have comes from, you know, Disney movies and other media. And most of the people they see, in fact, do have white skin or lighter skin in those images, if there are people at all. So that opens the door for the teacher to have a conversation about how do we know what we know about other countries, about other people, about animals, about science, about space. How do we know what we know, and what are our sources of information? And getting kids involved in that conversation is really fabulous, because they can also go home and talk with their families about this. It's something that we have built into many lessons that we have about holidays, about Thanksgiving. How do you know what you know? So we have a lesson that that gets at the first Thanksgiving using a variety of different sources. And thank you, Sherry, for saying the Jungle Book is set in India. Absolutely true. In fact, I'm so glad you said that. I meant to mention it because I got that image when I went to Google images of Africa in movies. And that was the image that came up. And so I meant to raise that as disinformation in a Google search, or at least misinformation. So you can look at all sorts of holidays, looking at where we get our ideas and what's true and what's not true. And you can look at other stuff. So let me check our time. Good. So I want to show you right now, we don't have any videos demonstrating doing constructivist media decoding with kindergartners or first graders, but we're working on that this fall, and we'll have videos that demonstrate how you do this constructivist media decoding with little kids. We'll have that up certainly by early spring. Right now we have about 20 videos that demonstrate this process of constructivist media decoding. Some are with 4th and 5th graders. Most of them are with high school students or with college students, led by me or led by Chris. And so I love that Kristen is saying, important conversation, could Google be wrong? And I love that, absolutely. So I'm going to just show you a little bit of this video, which you can find on the Project Look Sharp website, with a very gifted 4th grade teacher, Angela Levy. So this is a little older than early childhood, but it demonstrates a lesson that we have on YouTube recommendations. What do they want me to do? And gets into issues of mis and disinformation. So I'm just going to play a little bit of this. Angela created this during the pandemic, and it was when she was teaching online. So you're going to see some of the students in her class. Some of them have their videos unmuted, so you'll see them, some not, and all. We'll just, I have to stop my share here and go back to share my screen. So let's see if we can get this to work. Okay, Kayla, can you see this?
Yes, I can see it.
Good. Okay, so I'm just going to play a little bit of this, and in particular when she introduces this activity. So in these CMD videos, they're annotated, because they're really meant for PD and to give examples of how you go about teaching these lessons. So that's the words that'll appear at the bottom. But watch the kids' faces; they're just great.
Page. All right, so that's what happens when you go to YouTube and search. And this is an example of a search that somebody did. So
Actually, let me just back it up just a little so I can get this.
What we're going to look at today together is we're going to look at a YouTube results page. All right, so that's what happens when you go to YouTube and search. And this is an example of a search that somebody did. So when I do that, I'm going to a question that somebody typed in, and the question was, is the earth flat? Okay. So before I even show you the results page, like, what is your first reaction to my asking the question, is the earth flat?
The answer is no. Why would you ask that question?
Okay, JP, what's your reaction?
I know it's a no, but I actually seen a YouTuber see if the earth was flat. You know, we all know it's not, so.
So taking a look at those, I want to know, what do you think the creators of this YouTube video description want me to do? Any of these descriptions. So remember, people made these, they typed out the description.
The earth is flat.
So yeah, so let's think about this. What do you think their goal is? The YouTube creators, the creators of these videos that made these descriptions, what do you think they want you to do? Elena.
Leave a like and subscribe.
Sorry, what was that, Elena?
Click it and watch it and favorite and like it and subscribe.
You're saying click it, like it, subscribe it. I heard Grace say like it and subscribe. Does anybody else have an idea about what you think they want you to do?
They want you to watch the video.
Yeah, what makes you think that, JP? Why do you think they want you to watch the video?
Because they want you to think something that might not be true.
So like, in other words, are you saying that they're trying to convince you of a thing?
Yes.
And why do you think they would want to do that? What would be the purpose? Like, remember, we're talking a lot about purpose and audience when we're talking about opinion writing. What would be the purpose of convincing you of something that's not true or getting you to watch one of these videos? What are you thinking is why they would do that?
So then we
All
just
right,
cut out.
So here is what we're going to do now, because I want you to have the opportunity to really think about these questions. So I'm just going to show you here that in this CISA activity, which I have linked for you, I've asked you a few questions, and I'm going to give you the opportunity to look really closely at this document and get some evidence about what you're thinking, all right? So a couple of the questions are things that I just asked you. So I'm just repeating the questions that we just discussed together. And then the final question that I'd like you to think about while you're working on your own, and then we'll come back together and talk, is, are these YouTube recommendation descriptions effective in getting kids to click on them? Now, when I say effective, it's like, would most kids click? If it's effective, it's getting you to do the thing. So when you're looking at this, you can use the highlighter, you can type, you can record yourself, but I want you to be backing up your ideas with evidence. So like, if you're saying this would be effective because look, this thing really makes me want to click on it. And right here, this makes me think a certain thing. All right. So I'm going to give you kids, what do you think? Would 5 minutes of looking at this document?
Can 7 work?
7 could work, yes. I can give you 7 minutes. So I'll give you a couple of minutes to do that. I'm going to stay here. If you have questions, you can ask me questions while you're doing it, but I want you to look really carefully at the document
I'm
and then we're
going
going
to
to come
stop
back
my
together and talk
share
a little bit more, okay?
there. So,
And that last question that I asked you, and I'm
and
hoping that you were able to think
I
about
need to go
that,
back
is are these YouTube recommendation
and stop
descriptions effective in
this
getting
video.
kids?
There we go. So, so I'm gonna go and show you the Project Look Sharp website, but I'll also just say that one of the most wonderful things about this video is how easily the kids come right back to the questions that she posed, really wonderfully. Actually, let's do this. Let's share my screen again and go back, I think, to this. There we go. So, when Angela is discussing this at the very end, the kids come to collectively to the conclusion that that it's not just that they want you to believe something that isn't true. They are using that, something that's not true, to get you really interested. Because if you click on that recommendation, they make money. And even this is kids who are 4th grade. So 8, 9, 10, 11-year-olds, bringing them into that conversation about not just the idea that there's misinformation and disinformation out there, but why would they do that? What's in it for them? So it's just a lovely video, and I encourage you to watch it. So I'm going to take you to the Project Look Sharp website just for our last maybe 10 minutes. And again, Project Look Sharp, we have more than 550 free lesson plans, lesson activities that all are designed to integrate media analysis through what you already need to teach. So I'm going to show you some examples on our website. And the reason these are free is because they are all grant funded. So Project Look Sharp, we're a program of Ithaca College, but we get all of our money from grants or from fee-for-service work we do for schools and school districts and sometimes other organizations as well. So, so I just want to say that that because of copyright issues, we need to make sure that the people using these materials, which includes being able to download videos and PowerPoint slides and other media content, is being done for educational purposes in a transformative way. So in order to use or download any of these, you need to create an account, but it's a free account, takes about 3 minutes to set up, and then you're good to go and to download things. So you can search our collection by typing in keywords, by selecting different subjects. You can select the grade level that you want, and then just go about and search. And I'm going to show you some of our new, on our homepage, some new things that come up when you click this link, getting started with media decoding. So I'm going to leave the PowerPoint and I'm going to go back to, this is really interesting using this. There we go, Google Chrome. Using this version of Zoom is different for me. So, so Kayla, can you see my
yes, I can see your
web page,
yes,
homepage for Project Look Sharp? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So if you go to our homepage, you can scroll down and at the very bottom are some of these videos that we have. The things that we think are most important on our website are being able to search for media literacy lessons, being able to see those demonstration videos, and key questions for media analysis that you can download and use as handouts. For us, this is our main handout that we use more than any others. We also use Faith Rogo's version of this. So Faith was one of the co-authors of this version of Key Questions, along with me and Chris at Project Look Sharp. And Faith also has a version for early childhood, and you can download that from our website. And I'll just say that you can also, let's see if I can get back here. this is the only thing. I'm not sure I can get back without stopping to share. So I'm going to do that. And go back to share, go back to this. We'll see if this works. This one I'm kind of lost at. I don't know how to get out of this.
Which are you trying to share a PDF or?
No, I'm just on our website, so I know how to get back. I know how to get back. Hang on, I'm just gonna share, and then I'll just go back and do it that way. So anyway, sorry guys. Let me just do this. There we go. Now I think I should be able to just quit out of this. Oh, this is so funny. There we go. Now, new window. Good. All right, I'm going to try this. I think this will work. And now I will. Oh, but now I'm not in share anymore. This is so funny. Okay, hang on. If I go up here, I think I can get out of this. Yay. Okay. All right. Thank you for your patience. This is what I do in the classroom. Oh, that didn't work. Stop again. Share. And here we go. And there. Okay. No, whiteboard. Stop. Share. Not whiteboard. Google Chrome. Okay, there we go. Okay, Kayla, how's that?
Looks great.
Good, thank you. Okay, so if we typed in and wanted to do a search and typed in misinformation and selected lower elementary and did a search on our website, you get 23 lessons. And the first one is how much fruit is in this drink. And the second is dinosaurs and the raptors and butterflies and dolphins. But we have a whole lot of things like internet messages about toys or what's the right way to wash your hands and the Spider-Man and Hydro Man lessons. So you can just search for whatever it is that you would like on our website. And I'm going to go back up to our homepage and just click on this new link, Getting Started with Media Decoding. This is something that's brand new for us. Just put this up a couple of months ago, and you can select a starter kit for any grade level. So if you decide lower elementary, you can look at all subjects, or just health and consumer education, or library and information literacy. And I will say that librarians are the #1 people that we go to in schools. We work with teachers, but librarians are into schools, and we have a big grant we're working on right now to make librarians leaders for media literacy, and would love to do that across the country. So if you click on elementary, then you get these brand new starter kits. So the starter kit gives you some basic information about how to do constructivist media decoding, and lots of links, a link about learning about media and media literacy and CMD, a link to a relevant CMD demonstration video, some selected examples of lessons you might look at, one on Mr. Rogers, what do we do when our feelings are hurt? So we have a lot of lessons that are SEL in their focus, a whole training for how to plan a CMD lesson and how to evaluate and reflect on your teaching after you have done one, and a DIY guide to create your own lessons. So that's all new on the Project Look Sharp website. So I think, given that, I think we're about out of time. We have a couple of minutes left if anybody wants to chat or has any questions for me. So I'm just going to look in the chat. And so Kathleen's asking, which are some of the most popular lessons? Right now, I will say, if you go to our website and look at featured topics, we care a lot about helping teachers teach whatever it is that they need to teach. But we have a lot of lessons on sustainability. It's just an area that we're particularly interested in and have gotten a lot of funding for. We care a lot about social justice, so we have a lot of lessons on that. And of course, a lot on media bias and credibility. And during COVID, we had a lot of lessons about COVID and also PD around how to teach online. That's probably less relevant today. So that's it. Encourage you to come to the Look Sharp website, projectlooksharp.org, and set up a free account, and then be in touch. We would love to work with you, talk with you, and go from there. So thank you very, very much. And I'll stop my share. Let me go back. So Sherry saying, just wanted to ask where I was supposed to find the link to this webinar. That one I can't answer. Sorry, Sherry. So Kayla, maybe you can answer what Sherry is saying. There was no email confirming registration or link in the calendar invitation.
Shari, you're welcome to email us at our Media Literacy Week email address. We can explain that a little bit more, but once you've registered, you should have gotten the kind of it's from no reply at Zoom, and that's the email that kind of prompts you to go through the registration process rather than providing a singular link just because we're in the Zoom events platform. So it's more of, rather than getting a single link for each webinar, you'll be joining this Zoom events platform with your registration ticket. You can also just log into events.zoom.us every day and log in with your email address like you would if you're joining just a regular Zoom room. And you'll be able to see this event in your kind of tickets area. And then you'll just be able to join the lobby directly from there rather than having just a single link. But yeah, email, if that's not quite working for you, send us an email. We're happy to help.
Yeah, so good. So thanks for asking that. And also, so do you know, Kayla, is there another one starting right now on this Zoom?
Yeah, so there's not another one starting right now, but thank you for giving me the opportunity to just share that we do have another wonderful panel as part of our Media Literacy Week in this Zoom events lobby, or the Zoom events platform that you all are in right now. It's with our movies. Sorry, let me see. Let me get the exact name right, so I don't mess this up and misidentify them. But our next session is going to be at 6:30, so it's in 30 minutes. You get a little break, and it's by Women Make Movies, and their session is called Outside the Frame, Teaching Media Literacy Through Film. There's going to be some great flips and some analysis of film. It's going to be a really awesome time. That'll be 6:30 to 7:30 in this same platform. So not the same room, but you'll need to go back into the Zoom lobby and click into that one. I'm going to go get it started in just a couple minutes.
Great. And I will say that Chris Sperry from Project Look Sharp is going to do a webinar tomorrow at 5 o'clock. He's going to focus on secondary education, kind of the same issue, you know, teaching about mis and disinformation, and how can you do that using constructivist media decoding. So, but I'm the one who likes the little kids and has the grandchildren to use as references. So anyway, really wonderful to see you all. Enjoy Media Literacy Week. This is a great event. And thank you so much, Kayla.
Of course. Thank you, Cindy. This was wonderful. I'll see hopefully a lot of you in the next session.
You bet. And yeah, and I have, you know, I teach media literacy, so my students can get extra credit for attending events. So I'm hoping that they are going to be joining. I told them not to come to see me because they see me every 3 times a week and they don't need any more of me. So anyway, okay, we'll see y'all. I'm going to take
Bye, y'all.
Bye-bye.